You're visiting the Mom Next Door and our stories of faith. I'm glad you dropped by for a visit. Please stay a while and hear what the Lord has done in the lives of moms just like you and me. Oh, well, friends, I'm so glad you have joined us here today. And I wish you would have been with us even 5 minutes ago before we hit record, because we've been having some good giggles about being moms and living life. And both of us are in the midst of our homes today, recording with our children on the other side of our walls. And that's mom life. And I'm glad that you have joined us here today to just sit and have a conversation. And we are praying that this blesses your heart and just gives you some confidence and encouragement for today. Now, Laura, you have a lot going on. You are a very busy mama. You have a household to manage it's got a lot going on. So much so that there is no way I could be able to accurately describe or introduce you. So I wonder if you would just introduce us to yourself and your family. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked that you're telling me I have a lot going on because I feel like we're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, well, now yours are all in the home still, and I've moved half of mine out. So that is a little difference of perspective there.
I guess so. I'll give you
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my husband Tony and I live in the Dallas area and we have 10 kiddos, 3 dogs, 3 cats, 2 chickens, you know, a partridge in a pear tree. And we love it here. We love our little family, and we in one year went from having 4 kids to 8 kids, and that transition kind of rocked me for sure. But I first would love to tell you, kind of give you a little bit more background on that. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to adopt. I had read an article about just the civil wars in Rwanda, I believe, and they were talking about the warlords and one of the ladies who was pregnant being crucified upside down with in her like her baby being ripped out of her belly. And I remember reading that like in 5th or 6th grade. I'm not sure why I was reading that in 5th or 6th grade, but I did. And just thinking like I want to get all the babies, I want to bring them all to my house, I want to take care of all of them. And so I didn't do that, but I just knew at that point that I wanted to adopt. And so it was kind of a deal breaker when we were dating of like, hey, if you don't want to adopt, that's fine, but we're not going to get married. And he came around to it. So we got married, and we had our first 3 biological children, and they were precious and wonderful and lovely. But my husband said, hey, Laura, if we're going to adopt, we need to go ahead and do that, because if we get pregnant again, I don't think we can have any more children. Like, I think I'm going to be done. My cup's going to be full. So I was like, okay, well, let's go do this adoption class at church. And we went there and we learned all about all the different kinds of adoptions, and what like international adoption looks like, what private adoption looks like. And the foster care panel got up to talk, and we knew we didn't want to do that. And we're listening to them talk, and we both look at each other and go, oh crap, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Like, we knew immediately that the
Yeah.
spirit just laid it on us that that's what we're supposed to be doing. And so we moved forward with that and got Andrew in our home when he was 3 days old. And he stayed with us until he was 8 months old. He went back to his biological mom. She subsequently had 2 more kids. And then we had 2 more kids, and we had moved up to the Seattle area during that time. And when all 3 of the kids were with their bio mom, they ended up being taken away again and put back into care. So we kind of jumped on the opportunity of like, we really don't want these kids going anywhere else. We don't want them going to a group home. They were just, I mean, they were wee little babies at the time, like 3, 2, and 1.
Yeah.
I mean, just too young to go to a group home, right? And so we tried to adopt them while we were up in the Seattle area, and Washington would not have anything to do with that, because why would they take on Texas liability of children, right? And so we ended up moving back to Texas.
So you were living in Seattle area, but the kids were in Texas? Was that?
Yes. So
Okay.
we were originally from Dallas.
Okay.
After Andrew left us, we ended up moving up to Seattle because my husband worked for Microsoft and wanted
Okay.
Seattle. And
Yeah.
so we did that. And we stayed
Okay.
there for like 2 years and then
Okay.
came back.
Right. So it was while you were in Seattle that this connection through Dallas came, and it was kind of complicated to go interstate foster care and moving towards that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that we were asking God Almighty to come down, and I know that he could have done that, right? Clearly we were supposed to be here, but we ended up moving back to Texas and fostering again, all three of them, and got to adopt them the next year. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
cool
So now you
story.
have, at that point, you'd have 5 bio and then 3 adopted.
Correct.
Okay. And then, but now you said you have 10, right?
Yes. So we had two more biological.
Okay. There we go.
It's one of my
And so
favorite things to watch people do the math on that and like,
I,
wait, hang on.
I know I'm sitting here calculating. So what is the age of the oldest and the youngest?
Yeah, our oldest is 16 and our youngest is 3.
Wow. 16 to 3. And so you have some double people that are the same age.
We
So
do, but they're not twins. They're um I mean, depending on what time of year, we have a couple that fall and they're the same age. So, and two of our
mhm.
boys are 11 right now, but they're 2 months apart. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that is super fun. It's kind of like permanent best friends too. I
Yeah.
mean, that's part of the goal, right? Yeah, we have 9 children, but only 7 birthdays because we do have a set of twins. They were born on April Fool's Day, which is the best day to have twins, right?
Yes.
And then we have 2 girls that were born 5 years apart on the same day.
That's so
So
sweet.
yeah, it was fun. My Ruthie, the morning of her 5th birthday, I woke up and I said, you know, Mama has to go to the doctor and get checked on the baby. And when I come home, I'll make you a birthday cake. And I never came home from the hospital that day because the doctor said, you need to head across the street. We're having this baby like soon. And so I called home and told my teen daughter, I think you need to start baking a cake and make this a big deal because Ruthie's getting a little sister for, oh, well, I don't think we even knew at the time. Ruthie's getting a new baby sibling for her birthday. So, yeah, that was kind of fun to
I
have.
love that. That is really fun.
So, those were some huge adjustments. I mean, for me, I've lived in the same house for 22 years. And then just 2 years ago, we moved cross country and we only moved with 5. I can't imagine moving with more than that. And the ages that you brought are so much younger. So what did that look like? Oh my goodness, that was had to be really double busy.
Yeah. I mean, that season was just really hard. Maybe not hard as I think crazy would be a good word to describe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our 5th biological was born March 7th. And then that Palm Sunday, I had gone to church and, you know, it felt like the most random sermon I'd ever heard. And he was talking about how Jesus wept over the city and who Jesus weeps for and how Jesus weeps for the orphan.
Mm.
And I was like, just the whole thing just felt like so random, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not, but it felt that way at the time. But then when he said weeps for the orphan, I was like, Jesus, I know, like, I know you do. And I'm like, of course, they're the orphan in my mind, those 3 children. And I'm like, I'm advocating for them as much as I can, but the CPS worker wouldn't call me back. It's just like, I don't know. It's just such a tricky thing. Like, how much do you fight for them and advocate? Because I know that's my job. And at the same time, like, how much do I just sit back and trust you that you are going to open doors if you need to open doors?
Mm.
And it's just such a hard place to be. And so sitting there, I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to call one more time. Like, I'm going to be a little Gideon and I'm going to call one more time. And so I called the next day and the caseworker actually called me back. And I had been trying to call her for like a year to check on these kids. And I've like strategically called all the people in her office and left messages with all of them to have her call me back. And she never called me back until that day. And at first she was like, what do you want? Like, what's your problem kind of thing? And she said, we don't have people call and check on kids in foster care. Like that doesn't happen, which made me really sad. But I was like, well, I love them. And I want to know if they're doing okay. And if foster mom needs anything, like we'd love to give her whatever she needs. And she was like, well, actually, and then she kind of filled me in on more of the story and all of that. So that was Palm Sunday. And that kind of kicked off things of, we did foster care training up there. We looked into private adoption up there. We did so many things up there. And then the ICPC, which is like the Interstate Compact Agreement, which allows for children to be moved. So if a child's in foster care in Texas and somebody in Tennessee wants to adopt them, there's like a whole agreement that has to happen between the
Okay.
states.
Okay.
And this is to prevent child trafficking. So it's probably a good thing. However,
Right.
I was not happy with these laws when we were there. Anyway, but just every step of the way, the Lord just showed up and continued to reveal to us that that's what we needed to be doing.
Mm.
And so come August, we had a wedding down here in Texas, and we bought a big van and found a rent house. And I mean, just kind of put all the finishing touches on how we were going to live down here. And then within a month, like, but from when we got the call that said that we needed to move back to when we moved back, it was a month. So we didn't even have to put our house on the market. We sold everything up there, like our cars and everything up there. And I mean, just the Lord's sovereignty in all of it. And I think that made it easier, but it was still so much,
Yeah.
there's so much change and so much like upheaval of our life that we had created.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, what does life look like now? A day in the life of Laura, mom of 10.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I could preface it by saying that kind of that upheaval of then getting these three new children in our home and having five little people, four and under, all in diapers,
Mm-hmm.
all in cribs. It was so much. And I kind of lived in survival mode for about a year. Because we were renting out a house, renovating this house, and we had their little sibling for a hot minute in there as well. So at that point in time, we had nine that were 8 years old and younger. It was just a lot. It was a lot. And so
Okay, so I've got to ask you, how did you get your grocery shopping done? Did
how did
you
I?
were you like one of these ones who went to the grocery store with your whole entourage and turned heads as you went? Because when my children were all young, we did not have grocery delivery yet, and we couldn't do like go online and order groceries. So I had to go, and it was like my children started saying, "Oh, we've got another customer, mom," because people would want to come up and ask us questions and talk to the children. And then we got this great big van. We got one of those at let's see, what was it? It was a Sprinter, and it was looks like a bread truck, right? And
Uh-huh.
so people were so curious as this little what do you call it? This little trail of children would go out to this great big van, and then they'd walk up and they'd just start asking me, "Hey, could I look in your van? Why do you drive such a big van? Are they is this a childcare?" And I was like, you go, I just drive around town picking up children and putting in my van because it's really fun to go shopping with, this many.
Well, people
What did it
ask
look like?
stupid questions. Yeah, so I would sometimes go to Costco because I have a vivid memory of having two carts. I'd have my daughter push one and having four little people in those carts.
Yeah.
And I think more kids in one of the like in the bucket parts. So I
Yeah.
think that we did Costco with a whole bunch at times, but I think for the most part, I tried to do it on the weekends with no
Yeah.
children, and I would leave my husband at home with them.
Your memory sounds a little cloudy there. I wonder how much sleep you were getting.
That was a long time ago, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. Time flies.
Yeah.
So now where did I leave you? I totally distracted you. I threw you off
I
track.
know. I'm like, I have no idea. What was I saying?
We were talking about a day in the life.
Yes. So that's very, very much in survival mode. Just kind of giving myself pep talks to get through the day of like, you know what? If we can just make it to bedtime, we're all alive at bedtime. I could get them in their cribs. They're safe in there. Like that was my goal in life, is to get to bedtime. Finally realized, you know what? We can't live that way. That's not a that's not a great way to live. And so I started looking for something, just anything to help with what I like with all of it. I had no idea what I needed, but I needed something, and nothing seemed to work for our family. And so I had to really sit down and kind of vomit everything up and then kind of put it back together again. That was not a very good word picture, but I'm
Hey,
hoping
we're
you follow
moms.
me in
We
that.
get it. We get
No.
it. Totally get it.
Yeah. So that process that I went through is now what I get to coach mamas on. And being able to do that and like putting those systems into place, our home has become peaceful, and I'm like intentional with our time with our kids. And it feels magical. Like it feels like this shouldn't be happening right now, right? Like I shouldn't be able to have my feet up, the house be clean, all the kids in their pajamas at 6 o'clock and we're like getting ready for bed, right? Like it just seems too good to be true. I surprise myself sometimes, like just but like with how great systems are to have in your home. And so we rely heavily on systems throughout our day. And so it kind of starts off in the morning of just, I need my time with Jesus. So I'm got to get up earlier before the kids. So I wake up at 5:45 and I've just this year encroached on the fives. It's been a big deal for me. I mean, five's early. It's just so
Yeah.
early. I don't know how
Yeah.
people wake up at that time, but I'm now one of those people. 5:45, wake up and get my coffee, spend time with Jesus, and then start waking everybody else up. And a lot of our kiddos go to public school. And we kind of started that slowly. We kind of trickled into that. We homeschooled for, I have been homeschooling for 14 years now, I think, ish, 14 years. Yeah. But when we had our adopted buddies, they all three have special needs. And so I was like, that's kind of where I tap out. They're going to public school. So they're in sped at public school. And then last summer, one of my sons got diagnosed with autism. And so he's now there too. And then just a few weeks ago, we put two more kiddos in because I felt like that's what the Lord was calling us to do. So we're just trusting that that's what's best for everybody right now. So I now only have three children home or four children home, I guess, during the day, and only three that I'm homeschooling. And so that has, and those, I'm like, they're super independent. So I really don't do anything anymore. Like I just sit around and eat bonbons all day, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Now,
And
you
that's
know
what,
what? Actually, though, managing what you're doing, managing all the people just in that, and then the different schedules, because I'm sure they're not all at the same school either. And then managing their backpacks and their lunch bags, and then the homework and the meetings with the teachers. I don't know how public school does it, to tell you the truth, but our homeschool group, it does these email loops, and then the teachers in the co-ops, they each send an email to me about each one of my children's classes, and I'm like, this is just so much. It's so much to keep
leap
track
and
of.
bound.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who can do that?
Yeah.
I delete almost every email from teachers. So I get five now from public school and then many from co-ops from every teacher at the
Yeah.
co-op. And I'm like, who?
Yeah.
We don't need that. And then directors and principals and oh my word. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot.
Well, how do you sort through that then to decide what does make it to the top of the pile and what goes into the trash?
Yeah. So I think figuring out what is most important to you is a really big deal. So I don't really, dare I say, I'm not a big volunteer at school. Like that's not where my priorities lie. And I'm grateful for all those people that feel like that is their priority and more power to them. I'm grateful for them. But I don't feel like that's where the Lord wants to be spending my time. And so I don't. So anything PTA wise, whatever, in the mail, in the email, delete. Like I've figured out my yeses. I know what's important to me. We're doing that. So if it's like a teacher meeting or something like that, or a field trip, something, then I'll keep it, sign it, send it back. But everything else just goes in the trash.
Right. Those are actionable items. They need you to take a next step, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think what you said, no, you know where your yeses are. You know, you have in focus. We can't do everything, and you can't
Mhm.
be everything to everybody. And if you're supposed to be everything to everybody, make it the little bodies that are in your house, not be beholden to people that aren't in your direct line of responsibility, right?
Yes. Yeah. Like if you're not going to know them in 10 years, then who cares what they think? It's kind of a good gold standard, right?
We are filtering a lot. What everybody else thinks determines what I should do with my time. It
Oh,
determines how I should dress my children. It determines how what I need to cook them for dinner. Am I organic, or do I do red dye, or I mean, there's places where it's good to have that knowledge and to make changes, but we should not be basing all of our decisions for our parenting based on somebody else's situation, because God put our children in our home, right? And he chose us to parent those children. And so there's so much of I've gone through different seasons. It's depended on the time, what the age and the stages of different children are and their needs. But, I think it serves us better to just simply become curious about our children and get to know each one of them and what their needs are, and then just be in prayer about how I am to, my husband and I are to specifically respond to those needs for that child and listen to where the Lord calls us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's so true with everything. Like you're not feeding, like with dinner and meals and food, like you're not feeding other people's kids. You're feeding your children. And there's no other family. And I know this sounds like so corny and cliche, whatever, but there's no other family like you. Like your desires, your interest, your marriage relationship, your children, their personalities, everything about your family is so stinking unique. And
Yeah.
so it feels ridiculous. Like when you really think about it, you're like, that's ridiculous. I'm trying to adopt what they're doing and place it on my family. I need to create something for us.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, how do you feed such a large group of people? And I guess it would be very different during the day when your other children are at school, what you feed the other ones at home compared to when dinner time comes and everybody's home or on the weekends.
Yeah. So having a plan is absolutely key. And again, figuring out what's important to you and your family, right? So breakfast is not, I know it's the most important meal of the day, but it's not important to us. Like we don't sit down and have a big family breakfast. But some families, I mean, that's their time together as a family, right? So you really got to know those nuances of your home and what your kids want and what they don't want. And so for breakfast, we just do cereal and oatmeal.
Mhm.
And it's that easy. I'm like, they're picking one of those two things because we don't have anything else for them.
Yeah. Even if it is the most important meal of the day, it doesn't mean that it has to take us an hour and a half to prep. Like you can pop some stuff in a smoothie if you want
Mhm.
and give it a whirl and down the hatch, right? So
Yeah.
so we need to address like what are the needs in our home and what boy, how much energy can I give it? I think that's one thing is like I have these super high ideals. Like I sit down and I can plan out my family menu and it looks beautiful on paper. And the day comes and I'm like, ain't happening. That one didn't get checked off the list. I didn't get that done. So there's reality too.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that having that plan is super important, and a
Yeah.
realistic plan is even better, you know?
Yes.
So I think one of the ways that I love to meal plan for dinner time is to do it by theme nights. And so we'll
Mm,
have like a breakfast night. And so, that can be anything from pancakes and eggs to croissants and egg sandwiches or, whatever. But it helps me narrow down my scope when I'm planning. And so I have 5 things to choose from instead of 180, where I feel overwhelmed and the decision fatigue is like too much and I can't do it. But if I can keep my focus really narrow while I'm planning, that is so, so helpful.
yeah.
And then lunchtime, for the most part, are people here during the day, during the school year, fend for themselves. Like I'm not even worried about them eating. Surely they'll figure something out.
That is my kind of philosophy there. I'll tell you. What did the kids have to eat? I have no idea, but I'm sure they're fed.
Yeah, I'm sure they ate something. I don't
Yeah, I'm sure. It was there in the fridge.
know. But with our kiddos who go to school, I want them to kind of have some semblance of making their own lunch. And so we'll kind of prep things for them. So we'll make peanut butter sandwiches and put them in the freezer so they can just easily grab one. We have Go-Gurts and cheese sticks in the freezer. So just easily grabbable things that they can stick in their lunch kit. It's amazing because I'm not making 50 different lunches. I'm not doing all the things, right? I'm just creating this simple system for them to follow. And that's given me so much life.
Yeah. And it really prepares them too to think through all those processes. And you do have to work on it a little bit on the front end to make sure that those things are in the freezer, right? And then train them to go with a checklist or whatever. Like these are your choices. You're going to get one, main dish protein. You're going to get one vegetable that could be cucumber, carrot sticks, whatever. Here's your choices. Here's your, and it really makes them start thinking through those things that someday they will take into their own lives as adults and hopefully apply in their own home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I like the theme nights too. We've done that because if I just know, hey, it's going to be soup, which soup do I need to make? it really streamlines a lot of my planning.
Yes, it's my favorite, one of my favorite automations, I guess. So
Yeah. Do your children cook too? Like they do like dinner stuff? Do they cook with you?
it depends on the kid.
Yeah.
So some of them, I'm like, I don't know if I would trust them in the kitchen at all with anything for any amount of time, right? So we obviously have different maturity levels in our home, but um, I mean, my daughter is an amazing cook, and so is my older two sons as well. And then one of my middler sons has gotten really good at going in there and like wanting to experiment things, and so he'll find these fancy recipes, and he'll make us these fancy desserts that are like, oh,
Mm,
who knew? So it's fun to watch them create and watch them see kind of how they make a dish their own. And yeah, I've really enjoyed that actually.
yeah. And I do agree that depends on the child and the season in their life and also kind of how much time I have to come in and observe and do I have time to help this day or do I really need somebody to just get in there and do the whole thing on their own without me facilitating that?
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes, I mean, I say that, but sometimes I'll have one of the littler ones that I wouldn't trust with a knife or anything, but he can put hot dogs on a plate and heat them up and get apples and put them on a plate. So it's nothing like profound, like making a lasagna, but
Right.
he can make lunch for everybody, you know? I
Yeah.
think everyone in our home could make lunch for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, it's good. So you have some special needs kids in your home too, and that must impact the rhyme and the rhythm of life there.
Yeah, it's definitely allowed us to learn flexibility a little better.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just never know what's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can have all the systems in place in the world, and those are wonderful and great. And then someone has a 2 hour meltdown that you're like, oh, we're doing this right now. So we're stopping everything else and doing doing
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does. It just everything is so much harder. And as a mama, you're just vigilant all the time, and it can be very weary.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I mean, I love I love helping special needs mamas because there's something beautiful about having some things taken off your plate. And even if that's like with an automation of like the dinner thing that we just talked about, even if it's something simple like that, just one less thing to think about,
Mm-hmm.
having a decision already made for you so you don't have to think my child's in this dangerous situation or in this dangerous state and I've got to go feed everybody else. Like, what am I going to do? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So just having some of those things already planned out for you is so, so helpful.
And I think to know that you're not in it alone, coming alongside a friend via coaching or through whatever means to have a sounding board and to say, hey, I just need help problem solving this. And I've had the situation and I just need some perspective. And I think we as women can really be that for each other. I mean, our lives don't have to be exactly the same either, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we just all can lend each other a little bit of perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is something that I've been terrible about in my parenting journey, like terrible. And I'm finally learning self-care. What does that look like for you in your home? Are you taking care of yourself?
Yes. I love talking about self-care. And I mean, self-care can look like so many different things, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a pedicure every Friday and getting your nails did.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, that's how we say it here in the South. Um, like we just as mamas, we've got to really figure out what feeds us and what fills us up. And so on the daily for me, I'm like, that means I'm spending time with Jesus in the quiet in the morning
Mm-hmm.
with no one else. And that's not like just my bubble space, you know, and then going on a walk. And
Mm-hmm.
then like on a bigger picture, like every week that I'm going to see a counselor, I'm going to see a chiropractor, taking care of my body and my soul, like all of the things that just make me who I am, that fill me up, that take care of me. That's what I need to be prioritizing. And my goal behind that is not to, I think I really struggled for a long time in the church and just I mean, I don't know if it's in the church or if it was just me. I don't know how I got this message. However, I need to be serving everybody else. Like that's my calling, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to take up my cross and follow Jesus. And that means I'm neglecting all of me to put everyone before me, right? And I mean, I even remember someone quoting me the verse where Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, like with the expectation that you're already loving yourself. And I remember thinking, like, that's so not true. That's not what Jesus was saying at all. And just like really, really struggling with just taking care of me and being kind to myself, right? Anyway, I've kind of come around. I think that the hitting the wall so many times as a special needs mama, I think has really just taught me the importance of that. Like I'm in this for the long haul. And like for the rest of my life, I will be taking care of these three people. I don't get a break. I don't get 18, they're gone. Like it's not
Mhm.
happening. And so I
Right.
really need to pace myself. I need to take care of myself in every way possible so that I don't become bitter and resentful and all the things. So all that to say, that's kind of how I came full circle with the self-care idea and just realizing the importance of it. Because if we're not filling ourselves up, we can't fill up anybody else, you know? And when I'm not doing self-care or taking care of myself, I can't, I've become so bitter and angry and short and snap at people. Just nothing of Jesus comes out of me. And so I mean, it's just so important.
We need to remember, and this is one thing that kind of clicked for me, is that I need to remember that I'm a daughter of the king and he loves me and he wants me to be cared for. Right. And so, am I taking care of myself as he wants me to care for myself? And that was something I really had to think and consider. By the time this airs, we could look retrospectively to episode 134. Nope. I could look to episode 135 when I interviewed Lisa Rowell. Anyway, she talked about rest, and it was so important. She was talking about, we say we've got to serve, serve, serve. Jesus was a servant, but she highlighted for me that Jesus stepped away to rest, and how that rest is what then feeds our serving. As we rest, as we get to spend time with the Lord, then, I'm the same way. I get up in the morning and I go out on the couch in my pajamas because I'm like, I just want to sit here before everybody wakes up. I don't want to waste any time. I want to go read my Bible because I know that rest gives me fuel for the rest of the day. And you want to know a secret? For the months that my daughter and son-in-law and their children were living with us, I'd sit out on that couch in the morning and I would hear my grandchildren's foots. I'd hear my grandchildren's feet creep up the stairs. And as fast as I could, I'm grabbing my Bible and my notebook and I'm running into my room and closing the door as quietly as possible because I did not want them to know that Gaga was awake, right? Because I knew that I needed that time. I needed that to fuel me, or I might not have the perspective or come with the greatest response for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the day, Yeah, I think we need to think about that a little bit more as moms. As much as we are to give, as much as we do give, I think we need to fuel ourselves with a little bit of rest and
Yeah.
time to be prepared.
Amen.
This has been a really good conversation. And I think there's probably a lot of moms who are like, oh, I'm there. I hear you. So, for those that are listening that want to connect with you and chat more, tell me all the places that you are.
Yeah. You can find me at mamasystems.net or at Mama Systems on Facebook and Instagram. It's
Okay.
pretty simple.
And I'm going to put those in the show notes along with the link that you sent me for downloading a self-care guide.
Yes. And that guide is so great because it walks you through kind of figuring out what self-care looks like for you. So again, this is like you're not feeding somebody else's people. You're not taking care of somebody else's body. And so taking on their self-care plan is not a good idea. You really need to figure out what you need as a person. And so we walk through that, figuring that out. How can we plan for that? And then how can we ask for that?
Yeah. What a great tool in order to be able to like kind of ratchet that down and recognize our own need. The fact is this, and I've been thinking about this more lately. If we were all perfect, if we had it all together, and if we could do it all on our own, we wouldn't need Jesus. And so there are broken places in my life. There are places where I have needs. And I just need to acknowledge that, right? I think we all do. We need to acknowledge, you know what? There's some places that need some work and some encouragement. So I'm hoping that the moms will go download that and get connected with what they need to fill their heart and to point them towards Jesus. As we close out today, would you mind just closing us out in a word of prayer?
Oh, I would love to. Sweet Jesus, thank you. Thank you for this time. Thank you for Pam and for all that she does for mamas to encourage them on a weekly basis, God. Thank you for her story and just how you have brought her here. I just pray for every mama listening. If they're struggling right now or feel alone right now, God, I pray that you would just allow them to feel your arms around them and they would know your goodness and your kindness towards them. Father, I pray that they would be willing to ask for help. They would know that they are loved and that they would know that they're worth being taken care of. Jesus, we love you so much. Amen.
Amen.
I hope that you've been encouraged or challenged in your faith today, and that something we discussed prompts you to grow deeper in your walk with the Lord. If it has, make sure you tell a friend so they can grow along with you. And if you or a friend would like to be a guest and share about God's faithfulness in your life, please email me at podcast@tendingfields.net. Because when we tell of God's faithfulness, we never run out of stories.
Whatever is true, whatever is noble, think on these things, think